Imagine a small, humid workshop on the island of Cebu in the Philippines. You can hear the rhythmic sound of workers weaving split vines of rattan and the smell of fresh wood in the air. For decades, the world looked at places like this and saw only one thing: cheap labor. If you wanted a world-class sofa or a luxury chair, you went to Italy, you went to France, you went to Scandinavia. The experts in Paris and Milan looked at the Philippines and saw a place that made imitation furniture for tropical resorts. They said Filipino designers didn't have the elegance or the sophistication to compete in the high-end markets. They said rattan and bamboo were materials for patio furniture, not for art. They said a designer from Cebu could never stand on a stage in Europe and be called the best in the world. But there was a young man named Kenneth Cobonpue who was about to turn the entire design world upside down. He didn't just want to make chairs, he wanted to tell a story with every curve and every weave. Stay with us until the very end, because you need to see the exact moment a Hollywood superstar walked into a showroom, saw Kenneth's work, and changed his life forever. You also need to see the impossible chair that took the city of Paris by storm and forced the elite to admit they were wrong. This is the story of how one man's refusal to copy the West turned made in the Philippines into a global symbol of luxury. Kenneth's journey didn't start in a fancy office. It started in his mother's workshop. His mother, Betty, was a pioneer in her own right. She was one of the first to try and use local materials in creative ways. Growing up, Kenneth watched how a simple vine could be bent into a beautiful shape. He realized early on that nature was the greatest designer of all. But to be taken seriously, Kenneth knew he had to go to the best schools. He moved to New York to study at the Pratt Institute. In the middle of the world's most modern city, he was surrounded by metal, plastic, and glass. His teachers and peers were focused on the future on machines and mass production. When he talked about rattan or hand weaving, people looked at him like he was talking about the past. They thought he was stuck in a third world mindset. After graduating, Kenneth worked in Italy and Germany. He was learning the secrets of the masters, but he noticed something that bothered him. Everyone was trying to look the same. They were all following the same European trends. He realized that if he stayed in Europe and designed like a European, he would always be a second-class designer. He would just be a student trying to copy the teacher. He decided to do something incredibly brave. He packed his bags and went home to Cebu. He decided that instead of hiding his Filipino roots, he would make them his greatest strength. When he got back to the family business, things were tough. The industry was struggling. Chinese factories were mass-producing cheap furniture and undercutting everyone's prices. The advice he got from business experts was simple: make it cheaper, make it faster. Copy what is selling in America. But Kenneth refused. He told his weavers that they were going to do something that no machine could ever do. He began experimenting with a Yoda chair. He didn't use nails or screws. He used the natural tension of the rattan vines. He allowed the material to speak for itself. When he first showed his designs to local exporters, they shook their heads. They said it looked weird. They said nobody would buy a chair that looked like a bunch of tall grass. They were convinced he was going to bankrupt his family. But Kenneth had his eyes on a bigger prize. He took his designs to the international shows. He went to the very heart of the design world. Paris. Imagine this young Filipino man walking into a massive hall filled with the most famous brands from Italy and France. His booth was different. It didn't look like a furniture store. It looked like a forest. And then something incredible happened. The Lola chair, a piece made from thin strips of wood curved into a sensual, flowing shape, caught the eye of the judges. It wasn't just good for a Filipino. It was the most innovative thing they had seen in years. In a room full of the world's best, it was the kid from Cebu who walked away with the top awards. He didn't just win a trophy. He won the Designer of the Year title at Maison Objet, one of the most prestigious shows in the world. The news hit the industry like a lightning bolt. Suddenly, the people who had looked down on Filipino furniture were scrambling to get his contact information. But the real checkmate happened when Kenneth's phone rang with a very special request. A high-end showroom in New York told him that Brad Pitt, one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, AD, walked in, seen the Voyage bed, a piece that looks like a beautiful woven boat, and bought it on the spot. Soon, Kenneth's pieces were appearing in Hollywood movies like Ocean S-13 and in the homes of royalty and world leaders. He wasn't just a designer anymore. He was a global brand. What makes Kenneth's story so important is how he changed the lives of his people. He didn't move his factory to a different country to save money. He stayed in Cebu. He showed his fellow Filipinos that they didn't have to go abroad to find success. He proved that the materials growing in their backyards were more valuable than gold if they used their imagination. Today, Kenneth Cobonpue is a household name in the world of high art. He has shown that world class isn't about where you are from. It's about having the courage to be yourself. He silenced the critics who said Filipino design was just souvenirs and turned it into the ultimate status symbol. Every time you see a piece of furniture that looks like it was grown rather than built, remember the man who was told he wasn't good enough for Paris? He didn't change his style to fit the world. He made the world change its mind about the Philippines. If you are a creator or a dreamer who feels like you are being ignored because of where you come from, let Kenneth's story be your fuel. Your heritage isn't a hurdle. It is your superpower. Make sure you hit the like button if you are proud of how far Filipino talent has come. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of people who broke the rules. And tell us in the comments, what is one thing from your culture that the world needs to see more of? Thank you for watching, and remember, the most beautiful things in the world are often the ones that everyone said were impossible.